I just wanted to be successful, but not in necessarily monetarily. I mean, money's important, right? But just in every sense. I wanted to be the best version I can be. I love people, love business. There's so many opportunities just for us out there that I just want to be the best version I can try and be as a dad, as an owner of businesses, as a friend, as a son, as a father, as a husband. Every day I do challenge myself. You know, what can I do to be better?
Neil, welcome to the show.
Thanks, mate. Looking forward to this one.
I'm not going to lie, I'm disappointed.
Go on.
You are one of the most extravagant dressers that I've ever come across.
Yeah.
Normally there's a cravat and a waistcoat and red trousers. Just didn't fancy it today?
So do you know what? This actually was a total different dress for me today. I thought, actually, I'm just going to go a bit cash. I want to go a bit, maybe on the next time I'll wear a...
I was expecting you to come in almost like this peacock, with all these extravagant feathers and everything coming in. But no, really grateful to have you on the show. You and I have got to know each other pretty well over the last 10 years or so.
Yeah.
And a lot has happened for you, changed you, evolved with you, and I've certainly seen an evolution in the time from when I very first come across the legend that is Neil Sweeney. But let's go back and let's start with your North Star, right? So your mission, the thing that you grew up wanting, striving for, achieving, or wanting to achieve, what was that?
I guess... If we were to go back, I guess it was to be. I just wanted to be successful, but not in necessarily monetarily. I mean, money's important, right? But just in every sense. I wanted to be the best version I can be. I love people, love business. That was quite a quick learn in my journey of work. So I guess it was it started there. I just wanted to become better. And just have great businesses, be around great people.
And when you say that started quite early, I mean, how early on are we talking?
So if you wanted to go right back, I've always been quite entrepreneurial, right, in that sense, going back to when I would be trading pens for Bic pens and Parker pens and when I was a kid at school. And I would imagine that I really started to sort of, you become your own character, you start to know your own personality. So through my teenage years, I would say.
Okay. And the driver to be better was what, though? What was it that you were...
Yeah, I just think there's so many opportunities just for us out there that I just want to be the best version I can try and be as a dad, as an owner of businesses, as a friend, as a son, as a father, as a husband. I just think there's a lot, and I'm not trying to get too woo-woo on this, but I just think that, every day I do challenge myself. What can I do to be better?
Because what I think that I've certainly known of you, and it's interesting you said about being around people, is that you have this way with people. And I know you used to work in sales. I'm right in saying, were you an estate agent or commercial agent, right? Yeah. So there was that, and there's the component of doing stuff and making deals happen, and then eventually that led into you running your own businesses and.
Yeah, I think that's so. Firstly, I am a salesman. That's and what I always find about what people say about salesmen is it's kind of a bit he's a salesman. It's a bit cheap. It's a bit the dealer, the wheeler dealer. But in actual fact, the way I look at it in terms of a salesman is that first it's bloody difficult, and because you're looking at forming relationships, you are trying to find the right fit for the person, and so naturally I love people, and that then forges into business and so on. So I think that probably came very natural to me in that sense. I'm not methodical. I have got dyslexia, which is very common. Didn't really know it back at then when I was in a class, in the what they call the special class in Mrs. Bowker's. There was always a bit of a question mark while I was sitting there with three in a room, when in actual fact I just sometimes I couldn't get it at school. Just can't understand it. So I look out the window. I guess that's probably where I would have said it's a big part of me is, I'm a people's person in that sense.
And what do you think came first, being a people person in sales, or a desire for sales and then realising that you were good with people? Right, okay, so wanting to be around people, wanting to be able to do that component of things.
the Joker at school.
Right, yeah.
That kind of character. And it was always about that. I wasn't a shrinking violet necessarily, and I think that probably was a cloak for maybe, on reflection, probably the educational part, maybe that might have been.
So because there'll be people that will listen to this that do know you, and you are typically quite or at least come across, and we'll come on to that, quite an extroverted character.
Yeah.
And I know I joked at the beginning about the cravat and the waistcoat and the green trousers, the red trousers, the yellow trousers, and the Larry shoes and whatever else it might have been. But there is a component of that comes from a place often that is not what most people expect.
Yeah, I now actually look at it that it is a bit of it's a cloak in many sense. That if I was to show up and just be quite solemn and just quiet, and you'd go, "Oh, what, are you right?" Like, that is not, you turn up, it's all light and it's shine and it's, it's noise, and so I guess I've created that. Is it the character, the facade? I don't know, whatever that would look like. So it's boded me very well because I embrace people. Not everyone's going to like me. Not everyone's going to love me. That's all cool. But that's what I'm about in that sense. What it has done is it's given me confidence. So that, I think, in the earlier days when I don't understand something and I don't get it, is being quite a big personality in that sense. It allows me to go, like, it's all show, don't get it, talk to me about it, and come from that place. And I think as well, not breaking people down, I think you get more from people when you actually become more human and there's love there, and they're willing to join you on a journey, and whatever that journey might look like.
Interesting, yeah. So Todd Herman, he's a peak performance coach, wrote an amazing book called The Alter Ego, and he's worked with the likes of your Serena Williams and like real high level professionals to really be at the top of their game, and they talk about the alter ego. And Beyonce Knowles, she has hers, doesn't she? There's a name, it will come to me in a minute, that I think it's Sasha something or other, that when they're in that character, it's like, you're a different person. And that's what I'm sensing that is for you, is that when the Larry waistcoat goes on, the Larry trousers go on, and the character's on, so, hey everyone, there's this over energized guy. That is the Neil Sweeney, the character, and then there's the Neil Sweeney that Tiffany sees at home. But there's times when you are still that same person, right? So it's
Definitely.
not like it's not like it's not something it's not a fake version of you. It's just a different side of the persona.
I think that it's a really good example of it. I was at the dinner, and I've come in, funny enough, I was wearing the whole charade. It was all on because I just fancied I was in that zone. The crazy red chinos, the whole thing was there. And I sat at dinner, and I sat with the chap, Ben Allgate.
Yep.
Lovely guy. And now we sat together and we actually had some really great conversations. And from that, and he was really open and honest and went, when you turned up, you were there, you knew everyone, you're shaking hands, and it's all a bit. And he said, I've got a totally different perception of you sitting with you at dinner. You're a very different person when I sit. Now, I don't know what I learned from that, but what I do know is it's interesting how someone could perceive you, to then maybe once you actually take a layer off and you get to maybe some more depth, what you can be like.
Yeah. And what is beneath the layers for you? Like when you describe yourself as Neil, the person beneath the layers when the cloak is off, who's that?
That's a deep question. It's a great one. I have a big thing for me is family. It's obvious, for many people, of course it is. And I think for that is to really create and support my world, my family. So a lot deeper there. Lots of care. Everyone cares. I care. I put a lot of love out. I think because you get tenfold back in every sense. So I think in answer to that question, you'll see the dancing, you'll see the crazy red chinos and all of that jazz. But for me, it obviously runs a lot deeper about helping other people as well, what they want, and helping them on their journey.
Because there's something that I found, and I appreciate you sharing the situation where someone can create an expectation of who you were. And look, we've all done it, haven't we? We judge people on most of us will judge someone on their behaviours, but we judge ourselves on our intentions.
Yeah.
And what you're saying about there is by you going over and to say, hey, everybody, how you doing?
Yeah.
That's a demonstration of you caring. That's your intent.
Yeah.
But somebody else might go, oh, who do they think they are?
Yes.
And that's the difference, isn't it? Is there anything that you choose to do on a daily, weekly basis that's a real practical thing that someone listening to this right now could take away that you intentionally do to show people that you care? It's almost part of your, like, I do this every day, or I do this every week, or when I see someone, I make sure I do this.
Okay, one thing I do, if I think of someone, I let them know.
That's cool.
That is one thing I do, and it can be any time. And it might just be if I haven't got time because I'm buzzing around, but I'm just thinking of them. You know, you would have had a message, it's a FaceTime message, just, how you doing, mate? I'm just thinking about you. Love you, hope you're good. You know, sometimes it's that, or if I'm out and I've got the time, and I'll just ring, check in. Then again, it can be, let's get together. We haven't seen each other, let's go for a lunch or a break or whatever. That, I think that's really important. I don't get that enough. You know, I probably just don't get that enough. You know, how lovely is it to receive that? I'm just thinking of you. How you doing? Yeah, how's your world? But how are you? How are you really? You know, on this great journey of ours on this little planet.
I love that. I think that's such a great exercise to be able to go through and do. Yeah, as and when you're thinking someone, drop them. How easy is it to say, drop them a voice note, drop them a quick video. That's one of the things that you do as well. You will often do video notes to people and send them a video, which I think is quite interesting. In today's day and age, lots of people voice note, lots of people text, then there was voice notes, but you take the time to actually do a video. And
I think it takes me longer to write things out, to think about what I want to express in text and written form. So, and that's been such a, I mean, I've been doing it for years, such a blessing. Ping a one-liner on voicemail or a video.
Yeah. That's good. So let's talk about business then. So drive and ambition, because there's been quite an interesting turn of events that I certainly think you didn't expect in recent years, which we're going to get into. The drive, the ambition, the businesses. What was that like for you in sort of your late teens, early 20s, 30s?
Yeah. So my education would have been around property because I was a commercial agent. Now that was initially was just get a job. Was at school with a mate. His dad owned a company, big estate agents down in Southend, in sunny Essex, in the epitome of the planet in the UK, and that was the best education I could have had, because I then spent ultimately the best part of 13, 15 odd years meeting and talking to business owners about commercial property, buying, leasing, renting, moving, growing. I'm understanding what they're looking at, how they're growing, watching them evolve through that generation. So my conversations, even at the age of 17, 18, were quite high level. You know, I would be talking to CEOs of a business at the age of 20. I mean, probably at the early age of 20, one of the biggest deals I did back then was £8 million. And you couldn't do that in residential. There's not that value in Southend, but there is that in commercial and industrial units. Yeah. So I think those conversations, I think that without even knowing it, gave me an insight to the possibilities that's out there.
As well as having the conversations and doing those, so you had to upskill in the way that you communicated. Were you inspired by those people?
Yeah, that's the word. Definitely inspired with the people that you're meeting, the way that they were just performing, what they were doing. Not in every case, but in many, you'd watch them on a journey. I then met and started to spend some time with my more, not wealthier clients. They were extremely wealthy, but just really great guys to be about. They kind of took me under their wings. I'd be spending time with them. We're going out sailing or playing golf or go to Mallorca and play some, and just being around those kind of characters and people. Then you just kind of go, okay, I get it.
Yeah. Empower and network. Right?
Yeah.
Because I remember as well when I worked in the clothes shop years ago, I was really fortunate. I mean, it was a sales job. You worked in selling clothes to people, but this was just like high end Gucci, Prada, Dolce Gabbana, Etra, like real high end stuff, and it was the ability to interact with those people that you just don't get to interact. But for me, it was just the daily professional footballers, property developers, lots of business owners, spending thousands of pounds, but genuinely building really good relationships with these people. Because a lot of these people, that was their weekly thing. Yeah. They would go to the shop and they'd spend hours in the shop. So you'd build these amazing relationships with them. And I think that I never realised it for years later was what that did and the foundation that created. Some of those people, someone that we know, Jason and his brother.
Yes.
I remember serving Jason over 20 years ago. I can still tell you items of clothing that he bought, that he would be able to confirm that he bought all of those years ago. And now you're maintaining those relationships, maintaining that. So having the conversations, being inspired, seeing what was possible. How did that then lead into your businesses?
So really, by default, that was a foundation. Didn't even know I was doing it. It wasn't. You're going to university as an objective to learn that. That was just a foundation.
Like a byproduct.
Yeah, absolutely. Being around these people, the conversations you're having, the opportunities that are out there. That was a foundation. That was amazing. What I identified and noted that we were looking after a lot of property as management of commercial property as well. And within that, we had a company that we're working with that were coming in, securing the buildings, putting alarm systems in there. And I would sign off every week how much that they were charging. And ultimately, this was just, they would put an alarm in the corner of this industrial unit. And I'm signing off these checks thinking, that's a good business. That's interesting. So that was the birth. I've always been quite entrepreneurial, like I say. I mean, I've got a leather binder of business cards. I've failed. They didn't even take off some of them, but I got some great ideas. Yeah, but it's all about the action, right? If you don't take the action,
what were some of those ideas that you had that you didn't?
Okay, so one was called the Deck King. So this was it was a decking business, composite decking, because that was only coming through. Found the supplier, but I wanted to dress it that you were actually going to doors, selling the deck, doing the install, then doing the maintenance and all of those things around it. That was Deck King. Another one was called Dudes and Divas. My wife had a dance college. And so I was like, why don't we do Dudes and Divas? Children's parties. This was a great one. So children's parties, Dudes and Divas. You rent the hall for whatever it was, a couple of £100 for the morning. And then all of a sudden I'm like doing this, I'm dressing up as Michael Jackson. We're doing like, oh my God, the things you do to try.
I never knew any of this.
The things you do to try and make some money. But and then I would do these parties for kids, at the end of it. But what happened with this is, it was me and another. There was a couple of girls that were dancers at the college, and it was just hard work. Yeah, these screaming kids running around. So the whole thing was a bit chaotic. But Dudes and Divas was another one. I Inspect. I mean, there must be 5 or 10 business cards I've got tucked in a drawer. All these ideas. But I think again that was just all of the journey and just. Try that. Does it feel right? I'm not sure. And is it something I want to do? No, you kind of just, you poke the bear, don't you, a bit? But what the bear that I did poke was the security for commercial and vacant property. That was the one that I did do. And that was how then the birth of, which was my first venture, was called Securo. 2011. I was in a very safe and secure job. Doing very well at it, but I think the thing for me there, Will, was I'd hit a ceiling.
Yep.
Every year I'd meet with the owners and they'd say, right, Neil, where do you want to go? What are you going to do? And I was never going to be an owner of one of those businesses because you needed to be part of the Royal Institute, Chartered Surveyors and all of this. I don't do paperwork. I don't particularly do writing a lot. They want all that. That's what they need in that business, where I'm a deal doer, putting people together, and I'm an agent. I'm a commercial agent. I'm a people's person, okay? So from that, I knew that I'd hit my ceiling. So in setting up Securo, I went and met with the owner and I said, look, I've got this new venture, and we kind of pints and embraced on it. He said, Sweeney, crack on, enjoy it. You're going to be great. Go and do it. And that was...
I want to touch on that, right? Because, and I've never shared this, I don't think with anybody ever, is there's that allegiance to the person that you worked for, but wanting to go and set up. How did you, was that a fear thing? Did you feel that you shouldn't do it because you wanted to stay loyal? What was...
Yeah, I think one of those was most people don't make moves through fear because it's predominantly financial fear, reputation, identity. There's a number of... For me, my big one was we were renting a house. So me and my wife we had a 3-year-old, and she was just due to be. We had another one soon to be coming on the way, and we were renting a house, and I needed to have my absolute overheads down to a minimum. So we moved out of the rental. We moved into a garage. Her in-laws. We moved into my in-laws' garage. We converted it. It was heated. It was warm. It was carpeted, but I did these moves to remove the financial worry from
Right.
setting the business
So
up.
that was a tactical, strategic focus, right?
Yeah.
Let's reduce that
Let's-
down
let's-
so there's not the stress.
Yeah, bring everything down. I know that I was a good agent, so if this does fail, I can go and find out. I can get back into the industry in space of that. But I've got belief. There's more in me because I've spent the last 10 plus years with other owners, other entrepreneurs, building their companies and doing it. And so I know there's more in the tank. I want to be the master of my own destiny in that sense. So yes, I remember sitting with Tiffany at the kitchen table, and said, "Look, I want to go do this venture." She knew, she was like, "Right, is this another business card?" Yeah, is this another one? But this was genuine. I knew that there was space there, and so then we moved into the garage, lined it all out, heated, carpeted, put the cot in the corner, and so there was times at the early part of that, then you kind of really going, this needs to work,
Yeah.
and it did, and it was great. But they were so fun, they're the best. When I talk to people now on their first journeys of whatever they're doing, it's just so exciting because I know they will remember certain moments you'll have. My first job was £88 in a bin store clean in Buckhurst Hill. I loved it. I'm cleaning the bins out, washing them all down. But it was only a month before that I was a commercial agent talking to institutional investors about a development deal. But now I'm in there with the broom and the transit. But it's because it's my business.
Yeah,
it's something. It's different. It's very different when it's on your head and your watch. Yeah.
Yeah. The thing you said about the embrace. So I remember deciding that I was going to leave this company, and I would say he was like quite a father figure to me, the guy who owned the business. And I remember handwriting a 3-page letter and delivering it to him on a Sunday evening in tears.
Yeah.
That's how much it meant to leave that company.
Yeah.
So yeah, when you said about the embrace
Yeah.
with the owner and saying like this, and he couldn't have been more
But
supportive.
how amazing that you did that, because the power of that, most would go, it works, I love the people I'm with, I'm getting rewarded for it. Yeah, I'm happy, fine. But sometimes there's something there's an inner fire, isn't there? And you go, no, I need to go and do that. I need to go. And my words were to Colin, who was the owner of my old business, that I was working for, is I need to go and make my mistakes. I need to go and do more. There's more in me. So
Right, interesting.
yeah.
So then Securo. So starting first job, £88.
Yeah, Buckhurst Hill,
bins.
bought a transit van for £3,000 in Kent, 2 brooms. That was where it started. We were doing so that from that side, it was smoke and mirrors all the way. I had, as I say,
What do you mean by smoke and mirrors?
So my wife had a dance college.
Yep.
So I then went and got the guys that were there, the dancers. I then bought all their outfits for them, put high vises on them, bought Securo logos. We went and did a photo shoot that they were my employees,
Right, okay.
cleaning things and landscaping. I had Dangerous Dave from the pub. He was the doorman. I said to him, look, I need to do a photo shoot. Could you be a security guard for me? And he was like, yeah, great. He said, I've got a dog. I said, can you bring the dog? It was the...
he came with his poodle. Like, that's not quite what I was expecting.
Came with the poodle along. It's a vicious poodle. Don't go near it. So, yeah, what I did from that point was set up the facade that the business is bigger. The last thing that you can do is when you're going to win work is go and say to them, it's just me. I want to look after your building. I've just set up, I'm not even VAT registered yet because we're not at that threshold. You have got to, they need to know that they can trust in you and what your service is. So I do think, for me at that point, it brought me huge sort of return in being that. So yeah, we just dressed up the front load of it. I remember getting decal stickers for my van. My brother had 2 vans, he was in building, put them over his signs, took photos of that with all these dancers around it. In actual fact, the brochure was amazing. The website looked like a real big business at that point. But what it allowed me to do was then go and find the work, get the work, and then I'll deal with it, And we were we were just on the ropes in the corner, just making it happen.
And over a period of, what would it have been, 15 years?
Yeah. It wasn't quite 15 years, but it was about 13 years.
About 13 years, that business grew and grew and grew to basically providing security to
it's amazing.
sites all over.
Yeah. We grew it national. Mitch, my business partner, in the very early days, he joined me. He bought 50% of the company with a Volkswagen Caddy. That'll be worth a few quid, that Caddy, now to him. But at that time there was no value there. It was just us. And he come and sat with me, and You know, it was okay. Let's go together. So I needed a great partner. That's a share as well. for
Define
listeners.
great partner.
The yin to your yang is probably the best way to put it.
So what was Mitch great at that you wasn't?
He was, amazing guy. He's still around. Methodical.
Say as if he's passed on. Rest in peace.
Amazing guy. Love him. Love him. He was methodical.
Yeah.
He was detailed. He'd read a contract.
Yeah.
I'd sign
everything
contract.
you wouldn't.
No, I wouldn't. I've never read a contract in my life. You know, he does that. He was all of that. He was software. He knew it. All of that. I was the front. I'm the Mick Jagger. I'm up the front there, front and centre, winning work, doing it, culture of the team, scaling it, all of that. I'm totally there. So we worked perfectly, and we had, and we still have the best relationship. Almost, you know, it's like a brotherhood. You know, so that was super powerful, and I was extremely lucky. We knew each other, but we didn't know each other like that. So I was extremely lucky, because it's so often in partnerships, it's not the case.
Absolutely.
So lucky there.
So in terms of linking this back, so whilst you're building this business, so we've learnt the smoke and mirrors and the ways of doing stuff. What was the goal? What were you working towards? What was the driver for you as you're building that up?
Yeah, to be one of the most well recognised vacant security providers in the UK. Our branding was, when I looked at, if I come into a new market, I look at who are the players.
Yep.
Who's the McDonald's? Who's doing it in the, you know, of the fast food restaurant? Who are they? Looked at that. There were some big players in the UK and Europe, but there weren't, I don't think at that point, there weren't many doing it how I would have wanted it to be. It was a little bit still, bit raw and bit, you know, around the edges.
Yeah.
So we made it polished. We polished it, our engineers, the way they delivered the vans, the service, the product, everything around it, the efficiency, the speed, the monitoring of the systems, the equipment, everything was on steroids. So it was really, really well done. It was a pleasure to work with Securo. It was a pleasure to work for and with. So that is, you know, for me, I'd identified that, gone around, met lots of different owners and so on, and went, right, okay, let's go at it. And we were very aggressive in our growth.
Yeah. On that, so I'm a big believer that anyone that wants to really grow a business, that growing a business and personal development are like scaffolded together.
Yeah.
If you try and just grow a business without growing yourself, then that's going to come down and crash you. If you only ever do personal development and you don't exercise it in some vehicle, business or otherwise, then you've just got a really expensive hobby, right? So how can you use something that can scaffold? What was some of the personal development, professional development that you did that made a difference for you in your Securo growth years?
Making effort in being around the right people. Reading. Struggle to read, so it's Audible, great. Podcast is now amazing, so you're learning. But for me, the podcast was probably at the latter part of that generation, but in the journey. But in the earlier days, being around like-minded and great people, reading and just becoming better, going to watch talks, and all of that. And I've been very curious about that anyway, because I want to be around great people, because you don't want to be around mood hoovers, right?
Yeah, of course. What were there a couple of books that stand out for you in your Securo years that stood out as like the staple books that you'd...
Yeah, Who Moved My Cheese?
Great book.
Yeah, very simple, just brilliant. But that was one of the penultimate books in reading that. At certain times in my life, I'd just pick it, and I would still pick it up now.
Yeah.
That was a great book. Traction, obviously, was a great one that I've read 2015, 2016. That was game-changing for me, and for me now personally as well. I don't think I wouldn't say there's any that have really jumped. I mean, I've got an artillery of books, but...
Yeah, Who Moved My Cheese is brilliant. I mean, anyone that's about to go through change, going through change, considering change is super thin, super small. You read it in an hour.
Yeah.
It's...
which is perfect for me, because it will keep my attention. But it's about change, relationships, business, anything like that. You can flick through that, and it fired things for me.
So let's talk about that transition. So you just mentioned the book Traction. The goal was to create this nationwide business. You wanted to own the market in the way that you did by having a more professional image. You kind of looked at where was the blue ocean.
Yeah.
You know, talking about blue ocean, where's the opportunity that is untapped that you can go into, rather than trying to have a bum fight with everybody else that's doing the same thing. At what point were you like, right, this is my number, this is what I'm selling for, let's go for this?
Yes, so we had a journey, and now, so we've come from a point where we were just hustling. You know, we were scraping the barrel, borrowing money. Mum, can I borrow some money? I'm borrowing it from everyone, but I believed in it, and I could always back it. To now to a place where there's cash flow, there's funds. The business is great. It's moving. There's great momentum in it. So then the curiosity comes for me was, what's it worth? What do we want to do, Mitch and I as partners? Where are we going with it? So I think the exploration of it came from, okay, we can level it up and scale again. And we met with other private equity companies to look what that would look like, to get a board on to support us. And it was numbers of millions that we needed to then go the next level. That meant that we were going to be diluting our shares in the company. Now that means I'm working for someone. I'm not a very good employee. I mean, yeah, I'm not going to work very well for someone. So I know how that would feel. So that wasn't an option. So then it was, okay, well, if we were to sell it, how long do we need to stay in it for? Now, obviously, as a key man in the business, Mitch was finance at that point. He was the FD, and I was the MD. But we had departmentalised it, great management structure. And it was just all for me was about exiting and moving my way out, up, and ultimately to become T-Boy is the goal. But within that, we learned that we might need to stay in it for 3 to 5 years. That's not uncommon for that to have to happen. So we got involved, got Deloitte's and got advisors around us. What's it worth? What does it look like? What do we need to do to make the company better? And we worked on that for about a year, and that's then when I took it to market.
Right. There's two things that you said. One, you might not even remember this. You're talking about being the T-Boy. You came to the mastermind, one of the mastermind groups that I used to run. And everybody does an introduction, introduce themselves. And you said, yeah, I'm Neil Sweeney. I have a company called Securo, and I don't have a job.
No,
you'd made yourself redundant.
Yeah,
and you were so proud of the fact that you do nothing in the business.
Yeah, I mean, and people that I meet now on my new journey is like, just let it go. Like, let it go. Don't just drop it. Don't drop it and get down the golf club, go sailing, go on holiday. No, make sure that it's, because what dropping it means is you're going to let the team down and the people in the business. Don't drop it. That's not fair. But make sure that you've got the right people in the right seats and doing what they need to do, and still check in. Take cups, take donuts and cups of tea down there. Make sure everyone's good. Have a weekly meet, have a monthly meet, but don't be in it. Don't be over their shoulder. They're better than you. They're better than me.
Yeah. I love that distinction between letting it go and dropping it. Don't drop it. Let it go.
No, and I think again that's really important, because as you're building businesses, you could get bored. I think I'm kind of done with the conversations. And with that, you start to get distracted. Entrepreneurs look at shiny things, don't we? We're the magpies. Anything shiny, that's exciting. Then you borrow somewhere else. That's all cool, but recognising that's great. But just make sure that the business that you've invested so much time and heart and money in is going to continue growing. People are motivated, they're supported, they're clear where they're going, and then it will continue to thrive. Even when you do leave, you're leaving a legacy. So really important.
During that period of time, you also set up another business, though, didn't you?
I did, yeah. Urban Life, property management company. Yes. Again, you see shiny things, don't you? See opportunities. We were looking after a lot of block management. So we had a maintenance company as part of Securo, groundsmen, cleaners, gardeners, and all sorts. And what we learned or saw, that actual fact, the property management companies, they weren't particularly great. Their communication was lacking. So within that, the conversations then came about. I then found that as a guy that was leaving as an MD into another business, I went and sat with him and said, look, if I can back it and support it, do you want to set up Urban Life? And we did that. And so Urban Life was formed in 2013, and we sold that in 2019. So that was a quite short period. Scaled up to about 2,500 units. So it was quite a force. It was very quick growth. The great thing about a management business, that you can sell it. You could sell it in a week, because companies just want to bolt those they just want to bolt them on. They're adding X amount of a portfolio to their
You mentioned you grew really quick.
Yeah.
If people right now listen to this and they're going, right, I've got my business, I've got my vision, I'm really ambitious, I want to grow really quick.
Yeah.
What are the absolute must-dos and what are the absolute must-not-dos to grow really quick?
Simplify, simplify, simplify. Sales at the front end.
Right.
So at the back end, don't make it complex. Make sure you've got great people around you that are dealing with that. When you catch the ball, you can spin it on. Don't catch the ball, now you've got the ball, now you catch another one because you're at the sales and the front end. It's all getting complex. So make sure you've got a great team, be aligned with what that looks like, set a clear vision and a clear goal. Go and get it. Just go and get it. If it means that you've just got to get into the grit more and do it, then fine. If not, get more people around you, build a great aligned sales team and go and do it. Now, with Urban Life, what worked really well is we had great people. And as we were recruiting great managers and so on, they would just, portfolios would naturally just gravitate across. So you're scaling. So that was another sales method. So you kind of look at what are my revenues? How am I finding them? I was obviously well connected because I had property background. So I had a good relationship with Savills and Bellways and developers and agents. So I could approach them and say, look, we've got, it's a business, it's a grown-up company. I can't read a lease, but we've got amazing people that do. And that was then how it formed. So, but just take action, like get it done. So many people dress it up and dance around it. Yeah. Be very clear, focused, 90-day sprints, and go and get on with it.
So let's talk about exit. So eventually,
yeah,
full circle. Because I remember sitting down with you, and I don't know the date. I reckon it must have been 2017, maybe 2018, in the mill.
Yeah.
And we were having a chat about what you wanted life to look like, and selling the business, and what you were going to do afterwards. And you had your number. What happened?
So, 2000, and if we look at the sort of 2017 was when we're now going, what do we do? What's the numbers? And it takes a good year to understand where you want it to go. Take time with that as well. Don't just bite someone's hand off an offer. Understand what you want, because within that there's a journey. And this was probably this is now definitely Sweeney's next chapter. That was turn the page, Secure amazing, Urban Life amazing. At those early days, I never had much money. You know, we had Insecure at the later part. Yeah, you have your holidays, you have your cars. You know, then we bought our first house. You know, things are starting to move, but we never had cash. We never had funds in the bank, and that was always a goal to then just how do I now leverage up again? What's my next move up? So we sold Urban Life 2019, sold Secure 2021. I had to stay in that for a year, performance buyout. Now that was quite quick, that buyout, so which is perfect, but I think take note that you might have to stay in the company 3 to 5 years. So 12 months buyout, I'm done. I'm out of the businesses. I went mad because I thought there was going to be some confetti celebration. I've got now the money that I want. We bought a farm. Well, actually, farmhouse. It wasn't a trading farm. But we moved out of the garage. We bought a home. You know, kids are at school. Like things are great, right? So Neil, this is the win, yeah. Never felt so bad. I rang you, if you remember that. I had no purpose, 40-year-old, no purpose. Yes, there's money, but I was okay for money, and that's not a driver. That's been a big learn for me. It's definitely not about the money for me. Money's great. Money's a byproduct of it. And part of that, when I was scaling Urban Life and Secura, the latter years, going back to the traction part, that was a big part then. Didn't know it then, but read the book. There was tools that we put in from that book that just made the business better, made it clearer, maybe get a grip on it better, which then increased its value, not only monetarily, but as a business with the people, the right people in the right seats, and it just become better. So now that, again, the T-boy, I elevated out and gone, great, clear meetings, clear times, clear numbers. I know exactly where I am with that. So when I came out, and I was like, well, what do I want to do? And I remember sitting with you. I'm so grateful for that call because it was so powerful, because you asked me the question, well, what do you like doing? What do you love to do? What's your thing? And I love helping people. If you can remember the convo.
Yeah,
I remember sitting in the van,
Even before that, I remember in 2017, sat on chairs not too dissimilar to this, except I was in that one and you were in this one. And you were saying that one day when I sell my business, I want to go and I want to help people. I don't know quite how yet, but I want to be able to do it. I enjoy that, seeing people flourish and fly. That was, well, at that point, it probably would have been at least 5, maybe more, 6 or 7 years prior to that.
Yeah, it's always
conversation that we had.
Yeah, and it's just always been a big thing. It's always been a big thing for me. So that's just been in my DNA. And then in doing that was when I learnt that you actually could, with the traction, you could be an implementer. And that was a really big pivotal part for me. And So now I've gone, right, now I've got a purpose. I'm excited about this. What does it look like? What do I need to do? I remember making a call, talking to the development manager of it. You need to have certain credibility in terms of, you need to have some history. There needs to be a story to it. You need to be entrepreneurial in those spirits. You need to get it. You need to understand what attraction even was and what it is. And I ticked all those boxes, and he said, look, Dean Brealey, great guy. And he said, if you want to, I mean, we possibly might be able to get you on a plane. You might be able to get out to the States for this boot camp, but it's like in 2 weeks. Normally, we have to give a month breathing period, and the ink's still going to be wet. But if you literally signed it in the 24 hours, we could get over there and do it. That wasn't a sales play. That was totally genuine. And I remember sitting in the lounge. I went, "This feels so right. It feels so right. Isn't it amazing when that happens? You must have had it." And there is a moment, and it's the perfect fit. It's what I wanted. I can help people. I can be around great people. I can continue learning and becoming better. I can be rewarded for it. And so jumped on a plane, flew out to Dallas. And I mean, Americans are crazy, right? We know that. But American implementers, EOS implementer is like, that's part of what I do. That is on absolute steroids. 400 people in this conference, taking the roof off with energy. And that was my boot camp, and I did a week of that, very intense. I stayed in UK time, so I'll be waking up at 3 a.m, going for my run around the car park like a madman, and then just getting into it. And then from that, back to the UK. This was 2 years now, 2 years I've been an implementer of it, and started my journey on it. We're helping other people.
So that life after exit piece for you was the real tough time of, oh my God, felt like you said, the worst you've ever felt. No purpose, no drive, no energy. And that was a big thing for you as well, is you're such a social guy, but your social work was because of your work, right? Your clients were friends, and friends were clients, and all of a sudden that side of things was kind of...
I remember a moment, okay, so there's cash in the bank, okay, great, whatever, but there's, I was at the back of the garden clearing out the ditches with the wheelbarrow. Now, that's all good, because I quite like doing that, definitely like doing that. I don't like doing it 7 days a week. This is on a Wednesday, and I've got nothing else that's going to happen tomorrow. I'll still be clearing the ditch out, and I just felt empty, is probably a great word. And my wife, Tiffany, was amazing. She had my back. It was a bit of a time, where do I go? Now what? Reached out, and, we spoke. And now, what does it look like? And it just made total sense.
So what's your advice to someone that's listening to this, that's maybe on that journey, they want to sell, maybe they're in the process of going through it right now, to ensure that they don't end up in that position? So I suppose the question is, knowing what you know now, what would you have done differently before you had the actual sale?
Great question.
To avoid that happening.
I wouldn't have done anything differently in many senses, but what I would have been much more aware of, and this would be my advice, is just be really clear on what that next chapter looks like,
right, or try to be
as clear as what the blueprint of the chapter looks like. It's going to be a journey, and you'll find that. But for me, it was like, okay, you're selling up, we just I don't want to talk about security anymore. I don't want the conversations of it. Built a business, it's been really successful. That's great. Okay, next thing, what's next? Many owners stay in businesses for family and legacy. They're happy there, and that's awesome, because it's whatever fits for you. But what I didn't think long and hard enough about, and actually just sit on the bench and just take some time, take days, weeks, months, whatever that looks like, but find that in actual fact, when I sell and when I exit, this is going to be my next thing. And it could be taking up the guitar. Whatever. If you go, I've always wanted to take time and play the guitar, and I play it really well and join a band, then that's awesome. But just to say, I'm just selling, okay, what next? I don't know, I'll see what comes. For me, it was quite a trying few months.
Because a lot of people, they think, I'm going to go and have the holidays, I'm going to do the things,
you will when
only
the kids are
to
off.
then be like, right, well, I've done the holiday now, and I bought the toy, whatever it might be, and so give some time to that, or some thought to what life's going to be like after exit, prior to the exit.
100%, definitely, and that's a big one. I spoke to a great friend of mine yesterday, funny enough. Now, he's on an exit at the moment, and he's got some land over in Kent and a barn and all of that, and I've spoken to him about this. Just be aware of it, be aware of what you're going to walk into. He is absolutely cool with he's got investments, got some bits. He's going to just go and play, but mainly work on the land and just do that. And he's happy with that. I said, okay, that might change, but as long as you can understand what that picture looks and feels like, kind of sit with it for a while, and then great. But that would be my advice.
There you go. Something else I want to talk about, which during your time at Securo was, I'd say, quite unique. I mean, I think it's only unique because you're one of the fewer people that I know that have done it, was you would just, every summer holidays, pack the family into a van and off you go, and you'd travel France.
Yeah, 6
and
weeks a year.
For 6 weeks a year, that's it, we're in the Volkswagen, off we
it.
go,
Yeah.
and go and experience that. So is that a sense of adventure? Is it the adventure you like about it? Is it the fact that you just go to the wine regions and you drink loads of wine? You know, what's the...
just sit in a vineyard for 6 weeks. Yeah. When in work, you can be present, but you're not present, can't you? When you're at home, you can be at the kitchen table, but you're not really there.
Yeah.
And as much as I try, it's very difficult when you've got problems and struggles and challenges like you have when you're building a business, people, money, cash, but all the things that you come with it, all these glorious things that keep us awake. And you can't help but sometimes not be present. You just can't. So, you know, Dad, my first daughter's 23 years old, so very young as a dad, and God, those years flew by. I would absolutely wind the clock back again, and if I could tell the younger me there, is just be present with them. And so because of that, I was always aware of it, so take proper time out, not 10 days round an all-inclusive, because they're lovely and they're great, and we'll be doing them, and we do them, but 6 weeks, I'm quite active anyway. Travel, experience, take the kids, jump in the caravan, go on a tour, go and see stuff. We've been all over Europe. It's been amazing experiences, and we'll continue to do that. Bikes on the back, kayaks on the roof, paddle boards, surfing, paddleboarding, biking, running, jogging. We're out, we're barbecuing, we sit under the stars. Very simple. One of my most beautiful things is just sitting down on the Dordogne River of an evening with a box of wine and a fire going and some great people and great conversations. I've had lifelong friends I've got from it, and it's just much more special for me, that. Yeah, and that's very simple. That costs you a tenth of what, you know, an all-inclusive Dubai. And there's a place for that, and I get it. But for me, it's much more wholesome. And it just allowed me to really connect with the gang again and be free. And I'd always come back, and the team would always go, right, wait for him to get back, because I'd have 1,000 other ideas.
Come back loaded, locked and ready to go. I suppose the thing that I take from that is, as cliche as it is, enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the journey.
Enjoy the journey. Make that time to have the breaks, have the space. It's something I started doing a couple of years back. Minor thing. You talk about having the ideas. I really enjoy relaxing holidays, and I enjoy adventure holidays. I love to ski, and I love you love to ski. But for me, actually, do you know what? Sitting in front of a pool, sitting by a beach, getting through 5 books in a week, because the books stimulate my mind to give me ideas. Typically, they're sort of personal development or entrepreneur business type books, and I'm getting these ideas, and I'm getting those creative juices going. And I thought, this doesn't have to happen only when I go on holiday. I could create this. I could manufacture this. And what I decided to do was, once a quarter, I would take basically a 30-hour holiday, and I would work the morning on a Tuesday, go to a spa, sit there in the spa in the afternoon on my own with my notebook and with some books, and read through the books, then have dinner on my own and chill out and relax, and then the next day have the whole day there at the spa, and then come back and then have the evening at home. And then come into work the next day.
So powerful.
And it's such a simple, and that is, for me, it's those pauses, those breaks to be present and focus. As you put it, there's a saying that if there wasn't silence in between music, it would just be white noise. And that's the silence which is creating those spaces, creating those breaks.
And that is what, so again, the EOS, because it's been so powerful for me over the years, it's called, in my world, it's called a clarity break. And that can be 10 minutes, but it could be 10 days. But it's an awareness that this is a clarity break. And what do I want from the clarity break?
Yeah,
You
super
know,
powerful.
yeah. You know, it can just be, I'm just going to go and take the dog out for a walk, but I'm not going to listen to a podcast. I'm not going to have any content. I'm not going to make any calls. I'm going to leave that at home.
Yeah.
And I do that now. So the phone will come with me sometimes, but it's actually just going out with you, going for a walk and just being.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're human beings, not human doings.
Yeah,
Right? On
yeah,
that
great
note,
saying.
again, little hack might be helpful for people is that I will often now. I love listening to audiobooks. I listen to audiobooks when I'm driving to work. It gets me going. But some days I'll just not listen
Just
to anything.
not.
Just not, and just be with my thoughts, and that can be super helpful as well.
Think how much you know. I mean, you've written books, right? I mean, you've got so much in your head. Imagine just being with it for a bit. Could you imagine?
Nobody wants to be with my head. I can assure you.
Like it's
The thoughts
Will's
that go around in my
world.
mind.
Like it's
Jeez.
Will's world. But could you imagine just be with it?
Yeah.
Rather than go, I need more, because it's great, and like you say, it does get its endorphins. It's just like, it's great. It gives you a buzz from learning, and it fires new things off and ideas. But in actual fact, just go, okay, am I good? Bit of a check-in.
Brendan Burchard had something called release tension, set intention, which I love as well. So imagine you've had a really hectic day, you're crazy busy, as I have done in the past. I'm taking phone calls still whilst on the way home, pull up on the drive, still on the phone call. Before I walk indoors, right, I'm going to release tension. Take a big deep breath. Release it. Right, what's my intention when I walk through the door? What's my intent? Gemma and I, we have this thing where neither of us are allowed to walk in the house. So if she's been out, she has to come in, say hello, give me a kiss. I have to do the same.
Yes.
Rather than just walk, hi, you're right, I'm back, straight
Yeah.
upstairs, jump in the shower, whatever else. So it's just
Yeah, love
being
that.
intentional. What's the things that we're going to do to
Yeah.
make the difference? Those tiny little things.
Yeah, love that.
You touched on EOS a few times. So what is it? How's it beneficial for people that are listening to this that have got businesses, without sort of doing another episode now on what EOS is and what it isn't? How's it helped you? What is it? And if people do want to find out more about it, and they're in the UK, you can help them with it, right? So how can people connect with you and find out with you?
Yeah, I mean,
about
look, it just runs so much deeper for me now. That it's EOS, what it actually stands for, Entrepreneurial Operating System. There's no system. There's not a piece of software that you use. It's just the way that you function as a company. It's the way that you operate. Because many companies just don't actually operate. This is how we do. We just do what we do, putting out fires, problems here, challenges there, because you're entrepreneurial. So the home of it is working with entrepreneurial-based businesses that are growth-minded, that don't just accept the status quo. They want to keep evolving and moving forward. But like I didn't have a plan. It just set up with a fire in my stomach and just grow. I just wanted to get on and make it happen. But I didn't have anything in place. There was no structure. So most companies are dysfunctional at the heart. That's just fact. That's how it is. The lack of communication, the healthiness of it. So it actually is. It's much more holistic in a sense. It helps you get your shit straight, if I can use that word. It just gets yourself aligned.
You're welcome to use straight. No problem.
You can use that. Yeah. But it helps you align the team. It helps them get a clear vision on where they're going, what we're here to do, making sure everyone's in the right seats, making sure we've got the right people on the journey, that there is now traction, there's disciplines and measurables. You just have control of it. And Securo, when I even look back, I could have made it even better. And I know I could have made it better, especially in the last 2 years as being a implementer clients over Europe all the time. I'm involved in it. I'm reading, learning. If I'm not in session days with them, I know how great it is, because what I needed and what I found, I had a coach, and amazing, and it was great for me, but it's about the team. It's about the company. It's a bit deeper than that. So it's how you align the entire business and what do you actually get what you want from it? What do you want from the business?
Yeah, I mean, I this is me being pedantic, but EOS, really, I think it should be called BOS, which is Business Operating System, rather than Entrepreneurial Operating. I mean, I appreciate there's an entrepreneurial way of thinking, but then it differentiates the difference between the entrepreneur knowing it and everything coming entrepreneur down, rather than actually the whole business. Because I know that it is something that from a team perspective, you're in there with the middle management, everyone's involved, everyone's mucking in. It's not something that the entrepreneur just learns. Where I predominantly just work with business owners.
Yeah.
I don't want to work with middle management. I don't want to work with things. I want, how can we get them in their personal, professional, financial life operating at their best, using the power of their mindset, productivity and efficiency, absolutely, for an entrepreneur, one of the ways that they're going to be able to operate at their best is that their business is doing what it wants them to do.
Yeah.
And it gets
Yeah.
to a point where most people get to a certain size. I call it the glass ceiling. They hit the glass ceiling, something has to change.
Yeah.
They cannot possibly carry on in the same way that they've been doing things. They're burnt out. They're working all the hours. They just cannot possibly do anymore, and that makes a huge difference.
And that's what we would know as like an evolution and revolution. You hit a ceiling, you need bigger money, cash flow, people, resources. You just continue hitting ceilings. You never just go trajectory straight line. You're always hitting ceilings, but it's recognising it and going, okay, what do we need to do at this point, and keep going through it.
So if
No, it's
people
been
want to
brilliant.
find out more about that and connect with you and go, right, well, Neil, how can Neil implement this in my business? How can people do that? How can they connect with you?
LinkedIn, Linkedy Dinkers,
Yeah.
you probably know that one, but yeah, Neil Sweeney and Linkedy Dink, or LinkedIn even. EOS, just put Sweeney EOS in and you'll find me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we'll put a link to both those in the show notes so people
Yeah,
can
cool.
go and find out more about them, find out more about you, connect with you, find out what's going on there. In relation to your own personal development now, so EOS obviously, and I think for lots of people, if they get involved with some form of professional service that involves helping others, coaching, therapy, being an EOS implementer, NLP, you name it, the thing that happens, the biggest transformation that happens isn't with the clients, it's with the individual.
Yeah.
Right, and that they get hooked on the personal development drug of growth and wanting to make a difference, but use that growth to be able to contribute and make a difference. What is your own personal development now, and what's your life mission now? What's your North Star? What is it that you're working on now that excites you, taking
cool.
you to the next level?
Well, there's a new venture. There's a new venture in play, which is the high volume school photography. So on a commercial and business front, that's something that I'm involved in. That's really exciting. Part of the North Star for me and all encompassing is continue on a journey on EOS, because it's just making me better and it's helping other people and other companies. I want to get the Carmel Jane, which is the school photography business. I want to take that and get that to a place that it is the most well recognised high volume school photography companies in the UK, and it has every foundation to be able to be that. And I'm going to help that happen. Personally, my North Star now, I've gone through my first chapter of getting the home, getting the things that I need to just my comforts that I need around me for the family, is now to improve. I'm in my mid 40s, 44 years old. You know, I want to become fitter and better, and so personally develop in my health and fitness. Commercially, building those businesses, helping others via EOS. I need to do more experiences. That's an all-star. There's nothing better than sitting with someone at dinner and talking about experiences, where they've been, what they've done, what they're doing. For me, if someone sits at a table, what they're earning, what they're wearing, what they're driving, I don't know. I've just changed over the years. It needs to be deeper for me now. And so for that is, if I can do more experiences with people that I love and want to be around, and being parts of great communities, that's the big one for me. Just be content with it all.
Yeah, love that. What's one question that you wish more people asked you?
Oh God, you put me right on the spot. I love that. What is the one question? What more can I do for my team, for my people, for the business?
So I've got a team, I've got multiple teams in different businesses. What more can I do for my team? We can have the conversation about me, but also bearing in mind this podcast is listened to in 130 countries around the world. So there's people right now with teams listening to this.
Yeah.
What are some real practical things that they can be doing for their team?
When was the last time they sat with their team, and not a personal development review, and really sat and spoke with them about what they want? You asked me just then, what do I want out of life? And I need to be clearer with it, but I've definitely got, there's some clarity there. What do they want? Are they really happy? What more can we do to give them the life that they want? Because I know that if you can give them that, it just all becomes better. The value of everything becomes greater. So just be and listen and then do whatever needs to be done around that to your people around you. And that's at home as well. That's your friendships, that's your work, that's your whole environment. You know, how disconnected am I at times with my friends, my great friends, lifelong friends? Well, now we've got to get together. I don't care if we have a walk in the park or whatever it is, but I need to find you and do that. So that would be my advice.
So important, but so many people don't do it.
Don't do it.
And the thing that is a real paradigm for shift is lots of people say, oh yeah, I've got X amount of people that work for you. Or sorry, I've got X amount of people that work for me. Mm. No, you don't. No, you don't. Mm. Nobody comes to work for you.
No. They
come to work for themselves. And if you can align where they want to go personally, professionally, financially with where the business is going, great. You're going to have, it's like two carriages of a train. You've got the train up front and then the carriages on the journey. But the moment that doesn't happen, and the train might still be going down the tracks, but the carriage is disconnected, well, then no one's getting the result that they want.
Yeah.
And I think that's super powerful.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's the journey that, for me, what I've experienced and seen over the years, and especially now, is listening and empowering. You know, in my new venture, you know, I'm the new kid on the block in this business. I've come into it. It's a very well-established company. I'm a year last month into it. The vibe is so different to what it would have been, purely from the circumstance that it's just empowering the team and aligning them. And there is work that you have to do there. EOS has helped me there. I'm not calling it out. You know, it's not a plug, but it has helped me there because it's managed to align everyone on what they're there to do.
Amazing.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, again, we'll put a link in the show notes to your LinkedIn. People can connect with you there. The EOS Sweeney link so that people can get,
and when are you going to come for a walk down the valley with the dog? When are we going to next get out?
We're overdue one, aren't we?
We are.
I vaguely remember. I'll have to check on my photos, but I'm pretty sure the last time we did it, when I came up to yours, I'm pretty sure it was an Easter weekend, like 2 years ago.
Was it?
I'm pretty sure
the Bluebells
Yeah,
in Bluebell Woods.
The Bluebells were all out.
They're incredible.
So it would have been about this time. I don't think it was last year. I think it was 2 years ago.
I'll make it happen.
So yeah, we'll get it done. Well, Neil, thank you so much.
It's been a total pleasure. Thanks, Will. And I love what you're doing. You know, I'm cheering you on from the wings, mate. I love it.
Thank you. And for everyone that's been watching or listening, until next time, live a life you love. Thank you for listening to North Star Conversations with Will Polston. I hope you've enjoyed this episode. Share it with just one person that you think will benefit from it. My North Star is to empower people to transform excuses into results and live a life they love, and this show exists for that purpose, and you can help make that a reality too. By liking, rating, reviewing and sharing the show, you will help the platform algorithms do their thing and get North Star Conversations in front of more people so they can benefit from it too. Make sure you hit subscribe so you get the newest episodes as soon as they're released. Until next time, live a life you love.